Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like life is passing you by while you sit stuck in a loop of excuses, fear, and self-doubt? This message is for those who feel paralyzed by procrastination, overwhelmed by dreams they never start, and haunted by the quiet pain of what could have been. Today, we'll break the pattern. Let's dissolve the fear, end the delay, and reconnect you to your purpose. It's time to get up and get it done. You already have everything you need inside you. There's a moment in life, quiet, often overlooked, when you suddenly realize that no one is coming to save you. It's not a moment of despair. It's a moment of liberation, because in that realization lies the truth. The power to transform your life doesn't live out there, somewhere in the world. It's not waiting in another course, another person, another opportunity. It's already here. It's in you. You don't need to become someone else to get started. You don't need to fix every flaw or eliminate every fear. You don't need to wait for inspiration to strike like lightning, because you are not lacking. You are not incomplete. Everything you need to get up and get it done, that resilience, that determination, that vision, it's already sitting quietly inside you, waiting for your permission to emerge. From the time you were born, you were equipped with a compass. That internal voice, that silent tug that pulls you toward your deepest desires, it's always been there. But along the way, the noise of the world began to drown it out. People told you to be realistic, to settle, to wait, to fit in. And over time, you started believing the lie that you needed something outside of you to begin. But the truth is, your soul has never forgotten. It has never stopped pointing in the direction of your purpose. You don't need external validation to begin. What you need is the willingness to trust that inner nudge, even when it feels uncertain, even when the path ahead isn't perfectly lit. That doubt you feel, that hesitation, it's not a sign that you're incapable. It's the echo of old beliefs. It's the residue of years spent thinking you're not enough. But right beneath that doubt is your strength. You don't have to feel ready. Readiness isn't a prerequisite for greatness. Action is. The mind loves to trick us into thinking we're preparing, when really we're just postponing. We wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect confidence. But all the waiting only strengthens the illusion that something is missing. And the longer you wait, the louder that illusion becomes. But look back at your life. Look at the moments you rose up, even when you weren't sure how. The times you acted from instinct, from courage, not certainty. Weren't those your most defining moments? You didn't need to have it all figured out then. And you don't now. The real shift happens when you stop asking for permission to be powerful. When you stop outsourcing your courage. When you stop telling yourself that you'll start once you feel fearless. You must understand, fear doesn't vanish before you begin. It fades as you move. Confidence is not something you gain before the leap. It's what you collect after you jump. And you're capable of that leap, even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart races with the unknown. That fire inside you, the one that's still burning despite all the times life tried to extinguish it, that's not random. That's your call, your calling, and it's not going away. Don't wait for the world to crown you before you show up like a champion. Don't wait for the path to be clear before you take the first step. The clarity comes through motion. The road reveals itself to those who are willing to walk, not those who sit and stare at the map. You already have the vision. You already have the hunger. You already have the raw material to create momentum. Your task now is not to find something new, but to remember what's always been true. You are not here to doubt yourself into stagnation. You are here to rise, to use what you have, to act from that place of inner wisdom that's been quietly whispering, it's time. But every time you move towards something meaningful, a goal, a vision, a deeper version of yourself, you'll feel it. That invisible wall, that tightening in your chest, that whisper that says, maybe later, maybe not today. That's resistance. And for most people, that resistance is where the story ends. They retreat. They call it a sign. They wait for the feeling to pass. But resistance isn't the enemy. It's the signal. The very presence of it means you're on the edge of something real. We've been taught that struggle is a problem, something to be avoided. But discomfort is not a red flag. It's a doorway. You don't feel resistance when you're doing something easy, something small, something that doesn't challenge the way you see yourself. No, resistance shows up right where transformation begins. It stands guard at the border between who you are and who you're becoming. So when you feel it, that hesitation, that fear, that inner conflict, you're not doing something wrong. You're exactly where you need to be. Because growth never happens inside your comfort zone. Growth requires friction. It requires tension. It requires a willingness to stay with the discomfort long enough to break through. The mind will give you 100 reasons to stop. It will disguise resistance as logic. You're too tired. You don't have the time. You're not ready. But the mind is just trying to protect the version of you it's familiar with. The moment you reach for more, the mind gets scared, not because you're unworthy, but because it doesn't know what life looks like beyond your old identity. So it creates resistance, a defense mechanism, a survival instinct. But you are not your mind. You are the awareness behind it. And if you can learn to see resistance not as a warning sign, but as a marker, a signpost, pointing directly at your next level, then you can begin to use it as fuel rather than letting it freeze you in place. There's an energy inside resistance, a pressure, a heat. And just like a muscle tears and rebuilds to grow stronger, your spirit expands when it leans into resistance. The hesitation before a hard conversation, the tension before stepping on stage, the inner battle before committing to a bold decision. These are moments of initiation. They're uncomfortable, but they're also sacred. To grow, you must confront the edges of yourself. You must become intimate with that moment of decision. Do I turn away or do I step forward? Do I retreat into the familiar or do I walk into the unknown? Most people think they need to feel ready first, but the truth is, readiness is born inside those exact moments when you don't feel ready but move forward anyway. It's easy to act when it feels good. It's easy to show up when you're motivated. But resistance doesn't show up to stop you. It shows up to reveal your commitment. It asks you, how much do you want this? Are you willing to show up, even without applause, even without guarantees, even when no one's watching? The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is not talent, not intelligence, not luck. It's the willingness to face resistance again and again and say, I see you, but I'm going anyway. This is where self-respect is built. This is where confidence is earned, not in the absence of resistance, but right through the heart of it. Some people spend their whole lives avoiding this feeling. They stay in the shallows, where it's safe, where there's no friction. But nothing grows in the shallow end. Everything meaningful lives just beyond that edge, just past the point where it feels easy. And if you never confront resistance, you never confront your potential. So when resistance rises, don't push it away. Get curious. What is it showing you? What fear is it hiding? What lie is it protecting? Because when you can sit with it, not run, not numb, not escape, but sit with it and still choose to move, you awaken a deeper power within you. You begin to trust yourself in a new way, not because you eliminated fear, but because you chose to act in spite of it. That is the root of real growth. That is the kind of shift that doesn't just change your day, it changes your life. Most people confuse freedom with doing whatever they want, whenever they want. They think freedom is waking up without obligations, moving through the day on impulse, and living without structure. But that version of freedom is an illusion and often a trap, because the freedom that comes without discipline slowly turns into chaos, and chaos breeds regret. Real freedom, the kind that gives you control over your life, your choices, your future, is built on discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's not restriction. It's not some self-imposed prison. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. It's the decision to do what aligns with your highest self, even when your lower self is screaming for the easy way out. It's saying yes to what you want most, even if that means saying no to what you want right now. People often wait for motivation to get them going. But motivation is fleeting, it's emotional, it comes and goes like the weather. Discipline, on the other hand, is internal. It's the silent agreement you make with yourself that says, no matter what happens outside me, I will show up. That agreement, once made and honored repeatedly, becomes a force stronger than any obstacle. When you build your life on discipline, you no longer live at the mercy of your moods. You become immune to the external noise, the doubts, the distractions, the temptations. They still exist, but they no longer steer your direction. Because your direction isn't based on how you feel in the moment. It's based on who you are becoming. Discipline teaches you to keep your word, not to others, that's easy, but to yourself. And keeping your word to yourself is the foundation of confidence. When you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, and you actually follow through, something inside you shifts. You start to believe yourself again. You start to trust that you are capable of doing hard things. That self-trust is what fuels your progress. The absence of discipline is the breeding ground of regret. Without it, you drift. You make promises you don't keep. You dream big but act small. You become a prisoner of your comfort, your distractions, your excuses, and slowly the life you could have had slips away, not because you weren't talented enough, but because you weren't consistent enough. Discipline doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't mean grinding until you collapse. It means creating structure that serves your evolution. It means setting up your life in a way that supports your goals instead of sabotaging them. It means knowing when to rest and when to push, when to say yes and when to say no. Discipline is clarity in action. It's choosing intentionally rather than reacting impulsively. You don't rise by doing what's easy. You rise by doing what's necessary. And what's necessary isn't always glamorous. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's saying no to temporary pleasure for long-term fulfillment. It's showing up for your goals when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when it feels like it's not working, yet you continue anyway, because you know the reward isn't just the result. The reward is who you become through the process. Discipline teaches you to delay gratification. It trains your mind to focus on what matters most. In a world that is constantly trying to pull your attention in 1,000 directions, discipline brings you back to your center. It grounds you. It simplifies your decisions. You no longer have to ask yourself, should I do this today? You already know the answer because it's written in your commitment. Every action you take either reinforces discipline or erodes it. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. If you slip, you don't spiral, you reset, you recommit, you return to the path. Discipline is not about never falling, it's about rising faster each time you do. It's the mindset that says, I might not feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. That kind of inner power is rare, and it's what separates those who wish from those who achieve. This is not about controlling every second of your day. It's about taking full responsibility for your time, your energy, your habits, and your outcomes. It's about choosing your life instead of drifting through it. When you build the muscle of discipline, you create a system that serves you, a rhythm that supports your greatness, a foundation that holds you steady when life tries to shake you. And through that process, something powerful happens. You begin to experience a deeper, quieter kind of freedom. not the temporary rush of indulgence, but the enduring freedom that comes from knowing you are in charge of your own evolution. The freedom to create, to move, to lead, to live on purpose. And that kind of freedom, the kind built through discipline, no one can take from you. Every morning you open your eyes, you are given something sacred, a clean slate, a new beginning, a silent agreement with life. But more importantly, you are given the opportunity to make a new agreement with yourself. Not the person you were yesterday, not the version you fell short of last week, but the one who is right here, right now. And that agreement? It shapes everything. It determines whether you will continue operating from your past limitations or whether you'll step into the blueprint of the person you're meant to become. You are not bound by yesterday's decisions. You are not locked inside the walls of old behaviors. Growth doesn't come from holding on to who you used to be. It comes from releasing that identity each morning and choosing to start again, deliberately, consciously, with clarity. You get to decide every single day whether you will act in alignment with your highest self or keep replaying the habits of your lower self. And that decision is made not in grand declarations, but in the small, quiet moments before the world makes demands on you. Before the messages, before the noise, before the rush. That's where the new agreement begins. It begins when you choose not to hit the snooze button. When you choose to move your body even when it's tired. When you sit down and do the work even when no one is holding you accountable. These aren't random acts of discipline. They're sacred promises. They're proof that you are choosing to honor the path you say you want to walk. So many people wake up carrying the weight of yesterday. The missed opportunities, the words unsaid, the time wasted. They drag that burden into the new day like an anchor, slowing them down, dulling their drive. But each day isn't meant to be a repetition of the past. It's an invitation to begin again. You are not obligated to be the version of you that made those mistakes. You are not required to repeat cycles simply because they're familiar. That's the beauty of this life. You get to choose again. You don't need permission to change. You don't need a new year or a new month. All you need is the willingness to look yourself in the mirror and say, today, I'm starting over. And that doesn't mean you erase your past. It means you rise above it, you learn from it, you pull the wisdom forward, and you leave the shame behind. Because shame has no place in the life of someone who is trying, showing up, and doing the work. That daily agreement with yourself is the foundation of transformation. It means you stop outsourcing your power. You stop waiting for external motivation. You stop blaming circumstances and start creating outcomes. That agreement is your declaration that no matter what happened before, you are still in control of who you become next. It's a powerful realization. You can't always choose your circumstances, but you can choose how you meet them. When you treat each day as a new agreement, you become more intentional with your energy. You stop drifting. You stop numbing. You start asking better questions. What kind of person do I want to be today? What kind of effort deserves my energy? What am I committed to becoming? Not someday, but now. These are not abstract questions. They are guiding principles that shape your actions in every moment. And it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something intentionally. That might mean saying no to distractions. That might mean confronting the uncomfortable truth you've been avoiding. That might mean showing kindness in a moment when anger would have been easier. Every choice you make reinforces the agreement, or it breaks it. And when you break it, you feel it, that gnawing sense of misalignment, that inner restlessness. That's not guilt. That's your higher self reminding you who you are meant to be. But the beauty is, even when you break the agreement, you get another chance. You always get another chance. That's the grace built into each sunrise. That's the mercy woven into time. The invitation never expires. Every day you are alive, the agreement is waiting. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to effort. Yes to presence. Yes to progress over perfection. Yes to your own potential. Because the truth is, the world doesn't determine who you are. Your consistent agreements with yourself do. There's nothing passive about a powerful life. It doesn't just happen. It's constructed, choice by choice, through the things you do when it would be easier not to. That construction starts at the beginning of each day, when you choose to move, to act, to believe, not in who you were, but in who you are becoming. And that version of you is built not in leaps, but in layers. Not in fantasies, but in choices. Not in one-time motivation, but in the daily, disciplined, deliberate agreement that today you will show up again. You've waited long enough. The truth has always been within reach, not in some distant future, not in the hands of someone else, but inside you. This isn't about hype. It's about honoring the quiet call that's been echoing in your chest for years. The resistance you feel isn't a reason to stop. It's the proof that what you want matters. The discomfort, the discipline, the daily commitment, that's the path. That's how freedom is earned. Each day you wake up, life hands you a pen, and the page is blank. Not because the past didn't happen, but because your future is still unwritten. This moment is yours, not tomorrow, not next week, now. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need the world to approve. You only need to decide that this is the day you stop waiting, the day you stop negotiating, the day you get up and get it done.